What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to a brand new Football Manager 2016 experiments video. In these type of videos, I give a player 3 seasons at his new club or returning to a previous club or whatever the experiment is. Today, as you can see on screen, it is a player at his new club. It is Mustafi joining Arsenal. Now, this transfer is likely to go through by all accounts. There is a few stumbling blocks, but basically today, I'm going to be giving Mustafi 3 years on Football Manager to see how he performs, both personally and how he affects Arsenal's performances during 3 seasons. So as you can see, he's 23 years of age. He will be 24 years of age in real life. Obviously, the new Football Manager is not out yet. That's why this is a year behind. He is valued at £22.5 million. And Valencia, basically the stumbling block is, I think Valencia want 30 million, but Arsenal only want to pay 20 million. I'm quite sure it'll get all sorted out in the end. But obviously this guy is a very, very good defender, as you can see, just looking at some of the key attributes here. Heading 16, marking 16, tackling 16, anticipation 16, bravery 16, leadership 16, 15. The lowest out of the attributes he actually uses for a central defender is 13, which is aggression, which isn't too bad, because if you've got 20 aggression, you're probably going to get sent off quite a lot of times. So this guy is highly rated on Football Manager. By the way, if you're new to Football Manager, those stats are out of 20, so 16 out of 20, 15 out of 20, so on. Before we jump a season ahead to see how he performs in his first season, be sure to drop a like on the video, comment down below, and subscribe to the YouTube channel if you like this type of content. Let's jump one season ahead and see how he performs in his first year at Arsenal. Okay, so we are a season ahead, and as you can see, he's valued at exactly the same amount of money, £22.5 million. Now, experiment videos on defenders aren't the most exciting because you don't see them score loads of goals, you don't see them do this, you don't see them do that, but we're going to take a look at his stats, so obviously his average match ratings, his tackles, etc, stuff like that, just to see how he performed in terms of what you'd want to see from him. So we're going to take a look at his stats without any further speaking. I'm just probably rambling on right now. I can tell I'm rambling on because I can't even get my words out. He made 26 appearances in the league, 24 starts, 2 appearances from the bench. He got actually 3 assists, to be fair to him, 3 player of the match performances, 8 yellow cards, a 7.15 average match rating in the league, which is pretty impressive for a defender. 81% passing accuracy, 51 fouls. So obviously he was committing quite a lot of fouls. If I go back to him here, I'm quite sure, yeah. So he made 120 tackles, which is pretty impressive if he's only making 26 appearances. You're looking at, what, 4 tackles a game, 5 tackles a game, around that. So pretty solid there for Mustafi. Well, I keep going to the wrong place here. For the Cup, 2 appearances, 1 appearance from the bench. He actually got a goal in the Cup, 7.60 average match rating, fouls 4. We'll go back to this page, it's a bit better actually. So he only actually made 4 tackles in the FA Cup and 5 in the Capital One Cup. So, kind of sticking with that average that I mentioned of 4-5 per game. I keep going to the wrong place, I've got to get out of the habit of doing that. Continental football, he made 6 appearances, 2 from the bench, getting 1 goal, 1 assist, 2 yellow cards, and a 7.16 average match rating. So obviously, the one thing you want to notice for defenders is, average match rating. Was he playing solidly? And solidly, I don't even know if that's a word. Was he a solid defender? For this guy, Mustafi, yes, he was. A 7.19 in all competitions is very, very useful, in my opinion anyway. We'll just take a look if he got any injuries. So he actually did get some injuries. He actually got an injury in training, which was an 8-day injury. It was a strained wrist, and then something you don't see very often, he actually got food poisoning, which kept him out for 4 days. Both of them were after the halfway point of the season, so not too many days either, 12 days combined, so it's not the worst of injuries, and they're not even injuries really. Obviously strained wrist is, but food poisoning is not. We'll take a look at how Arsenal done. I'm not going to go into too much detail on how Arsenal done, because you may have noticed I've already done a video on Lacazette, and I'm doing one on Riyad Mahrez as well, both joining Arsenal, and these are all in this same save. So how Arsenal done in the Lacazette video and how how Arsenal done in the Mahrez video is exactly the same to how they've done in this one. So I'm just going to touch on it. Arsenal finishing 4th, 10 points behind City, who won. They were level on points with Spurs. They were knocked out in the first round of the Champions League by Benfica. Leverkusen went on to win that. They were knocked out in the FA Cup by eventual winners Liverpool. They were knocked out in the 4th round. And they were knocked out by Tottenham, the local rivals, in the Capital One Cup. And obviously, Man City went on to win that competition. As I said, I'm just going to touch on them because I've already mentioned it in other videos. I'll link the other videos in the description, and I'll put a little link on screen now in the cards. We're going to jump one season ahead once again to see how Mustafi does in his second season at Arsenal. Okay, so we are one season ahead, and as you can see, I'm actually on a different page. It's just a little thing that caught my eye, and it didn't actually catch my eye in the first season. Maybe it was exactly the same, but it has now. Mustafi's actually been playing at right back with Mertesacker and Koscielny as the centre backs. So obviously that's something to note. You'd imagine he's going to be brought in as a centre back because that's what all Arsenal fans are crying out for, but he's actually being played as a right back, which means Hector Bellerin isn't actually playing, so I'm not too sure on that one, but we'll go to Mustafi anyway. So his value has actually gone up by 4 million. He was 22.5 million, now he's 26.5 million, so obviously that's gone up, and I think I know why. Yes, so he signed a new contract only a month ago, so obviously that's put a bit of value to the player. We'll take a look at his stats for the season. So he made 28 appearances in the league, all of which starts. He got 1 assist, 2 player of the match performances. Wow, 7 yellow cards and 3 red cards. That's absolutely horrendous in terms of discipline. I'm just thinking, would he have played all the games? So 7 yellow cards gets you 1 match ban. Then he's got 3 red cards, which would have been like, I don't know if they're straight red cards, that's the thing. If they're straight red cards, then you're looking at 3, 3, and 3, which would be 10 appearances, which would equal 38, which is what you play. So I'm not too sure on that one. It depends whether they were straight red cards, and I'm not going to bother to look into that. But overall, he had a 7.47 average match rating, so little high, well, quite significantly higher than last season, which is very impressive in my opinion. He made 133 tackles, so again, sticking to around that 4 tackles per game mark. In the cup, he made 8 appearances, getting 1 assist, 4 yellow cards, no red cards for him in this one. 7.23 average match rating. And continental football, this suggests Arsenal got very far. I already know they got very far in one of the competitions, as I was mentioning before. 15 appearances, nothing, in terms of goals, assists, or anything like that. 2 yellow cards, a 7.37 average match rating. So obviously, his average match ratings are very, very consistent. He made 51 appearances in all competitions, picking up a 7.41 average match rating across all of them. So 51 appearances for one season is very impressive, and to have such a high average match rating over the course of that amount of games, it shows how much of a solid defender this guy really is. As for injuries, no injuries this time round, so Arsenal fans, you'll be very happy to know that, but you won't be so happy to know we got 3 red cards. You may have noticed stuff down here, but we'll go and see how Arsenal done anyway, or you may have just watched my previous video and know exactly what's coming up in terms of Arsenal. So they did win the Premier League. They had a very successful season. Obviously, they won the Premier League, 5 points clear of United and City in 2nd and 3rd retrospectively, 20 points clear of 4th place Liverpool, so obviously a huge gap there, massive gap in ability difference. They actually came runners-up to Manchester City in the Champions League, so they'll be disappointed by that because obviously City finishing lower than them in the Premier League. How did they actually get on against City? That's actually quite an interesting thing, City failing to beat United, Liverpool, home and away. But so City drew at home to Arsenal, but then they obviously beat them away. Is that right? Am I looking into that right? Yeah, so yes, City beat Arsenal at the Emirates and then drew. So Arsenal failed to actually beat City and then obviously failed to beat them in the Champions League final. I'll just touch on it quickly. City won 1-0. They won the FA Cup against Crystal Palace on penalties, 2-2 in the match. And they were knocked out in the semi-finals of the Capital One Cup by United. United did actually go on to win that competition. So obviously a successful season for Arsenal. And a successful season for Mustafi. Obviously, he's playing very well. He's playing a lot of games, and he's getting a very high average match rating. So, we'll just actually, one last thing. We'll go to players. He is actually, where is he? So, actually, Arsenal, to be fair, well, you'd expect, because they've had a very good season. But he's actually 7th, even with that 7.41 average match rating. So, that shows the quality Arsenal have got and how many players are actually playing really well in this team. You count the amount of people who are over a 7 average match rating. And don't get me wrong, actually, no, all these players are actually playing a decent amount of games as well. They've got 15 players over 7.0 average match rating, which is very, very impressive, it's got to be said. So we're going to jump into Mustafi's final season at Arsenal to see how he finishes up his 3-year cycle at the Emirates. Okay, so we have completed Mustafi's final season at Arsenal, and one thing I've started again on this page of tactics. He's actually a centre-back in this game. Whether he was played at centre-back right throughout the season, I'm not too sure. Was Koscielny available, or was he injured? You never know. But he's been playing as a centre-back this time round. We'll take a look at Mustafi anyway. So his value's gone up yet again, £29 million. He's obviously aged 26. We'll take a look at his career stats. So obviously for this season, 29 appearances, so a bit more than, one more than last season in the league, and that was actually a substitute, so he started exactly the same amount of games as last season. He got 2 assists, so he's actually not scored at all in the Premier League, am I right in saying that? Yeah, so no Premier League goals over his 3 seasons. 2 assists, 7 yellow cards, much better on the disciplinary front, so obviously 7 yellow cards is the same as last season, but no red cards, more importantly. Not as high average match rating in the league as 7.32, but obviously he's very, very consistent because it was a 7.41 overall, I believe it was last season, 7.63. So, he likes playing them 7 point, insert a number here, ratings. So obviously, he's a decent defender. As for the Cup, 10 appearances, 1 goal in the Cup, 1 player of the match performance, 4 yellow cards, no red cards, 7.67 average match rating, 12 appearances in continental football, 1 goal, 3 yellow cards, 7.19 average match rating. So very, very consistent defender, let's be fair to him. We'll just take a look at these tackles. So yet again, you're looking at around 5 tackles per match, which, it's pretty decent for a defender. We'll go to injuries. He did actually get an injury this time round. Obviously, he didn't last season, but he got 2 in his first season. Thigh strain was the problem this time round that he picked up. When did he pick it up? It was right at the end of the season, to be fair to him, so he may have missed maybe a game, maybe 2. Obviously 10 days, he picked that up in training, so not too bad again. So he doesn't tend to get injured, and when he does, it's not the worst. So, if he does sign for Arsenal, you do have that to look forward to. We'll take a look at Arsenal on a whole. So they won the Premier League yet again, 88 points, 3 points clear of United, and then quite a bit clear of 3rd and 4th place Chelsea and Tottenham. Champions League, they were runners-up yet again. This time, though, to Bayern Munich. Obviously, they'll be disappointed with that, and they'll be even more disappointed with the scoreline. They got beat 6-2. How did Mustafi play in this game? He actually only played the 6.3, but you're going to expect that when when your team concedes 6 goals and you're a defender, you're going to expect that. Interestingly, Bayern Munich actually had a man sent off in the 56th minute, but still went on to score 2 goals after that. So, but obviously Arsenal's also scored 2 after that, so it was 2-2 after the man got sent off. Obviously, 4 goals before that to Bayern Munich, 4-0 up before the sending off, obviously killed the game off completely. Go back to the other competition. So they got knocked out in the 6th round of the FA Cup by Tottenham. United went on to win that. Capital One Cup-wise, they were actually knocked out by United, who also went on to win that, and they won the Community Shield against Man United, 2-0. I can't actually view that match. Mustafi actually played an 8.0 though, so he was the 3rd highest average match rating for players in that game. We'll take a look at players just to wrap this video up. We'll see where he ranked this time round. So, Mustafi. I can't actually see him. Oh, he's there. So, we'll just take a look. So, he was actually 8th in terms of average match rating. And we'll see how many, because obviously Arsenal are just playing great. They had 16 people equaling or higher than a 7.0 average match rating. So Arsenal have just dominated these last 2 years, especially in the Premier League and in European football. Yes, they didn't win the Champions League, but they got to 2 straight finals, which is very impressive. And obviously Mustafi, at the heart of the defence, has obviously had a huge influence, playing very, very consistently. Now, at this point of the video, I give my opinion on this transfer. If it does go through, it may have already gone through by now, but if it does go through, I do think he'll be the right man for Arsenal. Obviously, they're crying out for a striker on a centre-back. This guy, he's going to do the job, not just going off what Football Manager's shown. He's obviously had a decent time with Valencia. I do feel like he'll be a very, decent signing for Arsenal. They're obviously looking at alternatives because this deal may fall through, but if it does go through, it's an excellent signing, and I do see him strengthening Arsenal's defence without question. But that is all. Drop a like on the video, comment down below, and subscribe to the channel if you like this type of content. Thank you all for watching. Until next time, goodbye.